Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous overthrows doth with their death bury their parents' strife. The fearful passage of their death-marked love and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end naught could remove, is now the 2 hours traffic of our stage.
Nothing Important Podcast. Your host Matt Ray is back for another episode. What's up? 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 I was online. Is that like a revelation to anybody?
Jesus Christ! I love you, God! Damn! I'm true! Jesus Christ!
Yes, I was on my cell phone, modern day obsession, and I was scrolling on the internet, and there's like a little bit of scandal that's brewing right now. I don't even know if you want to call it a scandal. I look at it as maybe a misfire from the marketing department. In the past, I have been heavily critical of movie companies because I have an ego that is too large to fit in my body, and so I have to spread it across different industries. So I have opinions about movies that come out. And this trend that has come about in, I want to say the 2010s, really late 2010s, 2020s, where you have movie studios or production studios that they would recast classic films or classic movies, and instead of giving them like a new angle and retelling the story, what they essentially do is just take the characters, the main characters, and they switch their race out.
Bobby, I need a little more black.
They switch the race out of the main characters, and I guess the way that is people take it is that they're being inclusive. And the reason I was critical of this in the past, because I think that's patronizing, I think it's racist, personally.
That's racist!
I think inclusion would be if you could create a story that is fresh, that's brand new, that represents all cultures. So it doesn't have to be an all-white movie. You also don't have to take an all-white movie and then recast the characters in that movie as ethnic. And I'll tell you why it's patronizing, because time is the greatest indicator of truth, ladies and gentlemen. And time has passed since I was last critical. The last thing I talked about was the Black Little Mermaid. I got a lot of shit because I was coming at the Black Little Mermaid. I could not believe that they would make a movie where they would recast the main character as a little black girl. And is that because I'm racist? No, because firstly, it didn't logically make sense. I don't understand how you got melanated skin under the sea. Personally, I didn't understand that. More importantly than that, I kind of saw what it was before it was clear what it was, and I got the evidence. I got the proof is in the pudding now. I thought they were patronizing the black community. I felt that they were recasting a character who was Caucasian as a black woman, it's patronizing. They're saying, we're on your side, we want inclusivity, but they're not really going to give you what you're actually owed, a representation of a black woman or a black man or ethnic person that is free from stereotypes, that's free from the boxes that society creates, the personas that society dictates that certain races and ethnicities should have. They won't create that. What they will do is just give those people a white story.
It's pronounced white.
Give these ethnic characters, these ethnic personalities, the recasted main characters. They just give them a white story. And that to me is patronizing. You cut to 2024, what the fuck? It's happening again, and it's happening worst. And it's kind of undeniable now. It's kind of undeniable now. They have this new, I guess it's like the same shit. They're recasting Romeo and Juliet.
They have made worms meat of me. A plague on both your houses!
Everybody knows who Romeo and Juliet is because we were forced to learn about European culture in school. And so you heard about this guy, William Shakespeare, who was a genius, and he happened to be Caucasian. He was like in the fucking medieval times in England where they wore stockings instead of pants, and the guys wore skirts, and everybody was gay, and kind of sounds like nowadays, but you get the fucking point. He wrote this play called Romeo and Juliet. And it's a very famous story. The story essentially is a couple who their families were feuding against each other, but they were in love. They loved each other, and they wanted to be together, but they couldn't be together. And the story ends in a very ugly way. If you're not familiar with Romeo and Juliet, there's 1,000 versions of Romeo and Juliet. Apparently, we're getting another one. I got some beef with the new one that's coming out, and it's because they've cast a white Romeo and a black Juliet. Now, once again, if I just said that on paper, it sounds like I got a problem with it because I got a problem with black women. Is that true? No. Go take a look at who Juliet is. Go take a look at who Juliet is. And this is what the internet's kind of going crazy about. And this was the point I was trying to make initially. It's patronizing. It's patronizing. I would appreciate if you could create a movie where it could be a love story between a white man and a black woman, or a black man or a white woman, or an Asian man and a black woman, or a black man and you know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's an honest, humane depiction of a person and the story is good and the actors are good. Great. But that's not what's happening. They're taking a white story, and this is the patronizing part. They're giving it to this recasted Juliet. What's more patronizing, and I don't want to be offensive, you got to go take a look at Juliet. She's not a looker. She's not a looker, man. They recast as a black woman, Juliet, but they made a point to pick a very particular look. You know, the actor that is going to be Romeo is Tom Holland, who's very famous. I want to look up the young lady's name because I don't want to disrespect her at all.
Look, I don't mean to be rude, but
The rest of us do not have to suffer you.
I do not want to disrespect this young lady, but I got a point to make. I got a fucking point. It's like a 2-year-old point, and holy shit, I need to make it. Who are they casting as the new Juliet? Francesca Rivers. Okay, so Francesca Rivers, she's an English television and stage actress. She's nowhere near as famous as Tom Holland. But if you go take a look at the young lady, and this is no offense to her, because I also want to whoever's creating this movie, this is genius chess. This is genius petty chess. That's what the fuck is really going on. This is petty chess. Because if you are an individual who looks at this very clearly, and you ask yourself, Tom Holland, very attractive, famous actor. He happens to be a white male.
White.
Making a new Romeo and Juliet. Not a big wonder why they would choose the young man. Match that same energy with Juliet. If you want to make a black, pick a bad joint. Possibly pick a joint that's attractive. Maybe. But this is why it's genius chess. Because then if you are critical of the choice, automatically you could be painted as somebody who hates black women, or you're racist.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
So I think there's like a couple angles here. You know, I want to let people think for themselves and go check that out. I believe, and this is where it gets tricky, because there's obviously going to be a large groups of people that are going to say, you know, in the real world, is it not possible that an attractive white male could get with a black woman who maybe is not attractive to everybody, maybe is not a typical beauty, That is 100% accurate. That is 100% accurate. But if we're talking about demographics, we're talking about keeping true to the story. I think if you lined up 100 heterosexual white males, then lined up 100 heterosexual black males, 100 heterosexual Asian men, 100 heterosexual Hispanic, get whatever fucking demographics you would like, and you ask them to look at this young lady.
Oh, hell no! Oh, hell no! Oh, hell no! Oh, hell no!
And ask them, you know what I'm saying, scale to 1 to 10. I think a lot of them are going to say, it's not going to be because you could even vet it out. You could, all those groups of 100 different ethnicities, they could have a preference toward black women. That's not what it's about. I feel like this is the patronizing thing about virtue signaling, is that there is no giving a community a fair representation. It's taking recycled white culture and giving that to up-and-coming actors or actresses to represent their communities with. And the reason that I think this is even more damaging is because then it creates a subliminal hierarchical, kind of like a racial caste system, right? The way that they're casting these films, that's what it does. It's like black women should be happy or celebrate that they get a recycled white story.
White.
And then you get to look at the black woman they choose to represent, you know, in this classic story. I feel like that's deeply fucking patronizing. I feel like that's deeply, and I wonder like black women's opinion on this as well. Like anybody who's just like a casual viewer of movies, or they, you know, they're online scrolling. When they seen this girl, no offense to her, once again, she's just fucking, she has to take the opportunity. She's a young actress. It's what she has to do. No offense to her whatsoever. Do black women look at her and they go, yeah, that's who we want? Or is there something in the back of their mind, like they couldn't have picked there's no like chocolate baddies? Does that not exist? Are there no chocolate? You telling me there's no chocolate baddie actresses that could have got that role? They couldn't have matched the Tom Holland. He's an A-list celebrity, top of the fucking top. He's a somewhat attractive white guy, right? They couldn't match that energy with a bad chocolate joint? Come on. Come on. Come on. Am I too excited about this? No, I think this shit is serious. I think this shit is serious. I feel like it is just this game of patronizing. It's like covert racism is very aggressive. There is in-your-face racism where people might have political views or generational ignorances that they carry with them, and that makes them aggressive towards certain ethnicities or cultures, inappropriate with their speech, their thoughts, the way that they move, their actions. There's systemic racism, which is very real, and it stops people from mobility when they may be qualified. There's a whole bunch of examples of this. Covert racism is not something that people are aware of. I mean, it's kind of implied in the title, covert, but that shit is very fucking aggressive. And when, you know, the issue at hand is representation through media, through forms of entertainment, through what programs most individuals, whether they be black, white, Hispanic, whatever the fuck they are, we all absorb information, and most of our information comes from entertainment or the commercials in between, the advertisements in between the entertainment. When those images that are constantly being shoved into our brain, when the process is like this, when it's, you know, we're not going to give you an actual human representation to see yourself through. You know what I mean? To the lens by which you judge yourself, or you grow an understanding of your own persona, your own ethnic representation on a TV screen or a cell phone. We won't give you an actual humane, individual, unique story. We'll give you recycled shit. And on top of that, we got to pick the black girl with the dog face. I'm sorry, but I got to say it. I'm sorry, but I got to say it. I'm sorry, but I got to say it. I still would have had a problem with this if they would have picked a chocolate baddie. And that's not because I preference black women or Hispanic women, like sexual attraction wise. That's a preference. It's also not exotifying. It's not thinking that that's all a black woman is or Hispanic woman. That's why I also was trying to be careful with like judging how this young lady looks because she's probably brilliant. Maybe she's a great actress. Maybe, but it's just understanding why they do the things that they do. Why they do the things that they do. You know what I mean? And then hide behind titles of inclusivity and hide behind titles of virtuism or some type of cloak of morality when it actually is aggressive, covert racism. It actually is meant to represent certain cultures in a certain light to patronize them. It actually is still not addressing the problem of certain people, certain groups, certain ethnicities having their actual humanity painted for the world to see, or for other people who look like them to be able to see themselves on a TV screen or a cell phone in a light of reality versus a recycled old white story and then not matching the energy. Tom Holland, A-list actor. This young lady, don't want to disrespect her again, but come on, son. Come on. I imagine that would be I just talked about it. You get all these different groups of ethnicities who preference black women sexually, and you gave them a picture of this young lady. That you will hear a lot.
Oh wow.
Come on, son. Come on, son. Come on, son. This can't be real. Come on. Come on, son. It's upsetting to me. And I also, I gave credit for like the petty chess because it is perfectly positioned. I feel like that is the cheapness of entertainment nowadays as well. So past the problem of like a misrepresentation of certain ethnicities and cultures that regardless of what race you are, no distinction of ethnicity or race or your geographic pretense where you grew up, it's not a box by which you could judge an individual by their individual characteristics. You know what I'm saying? We have personas, we have personalities, we have characteristics. That is all very individual to our outlook in life. And your race and ethnicity may be a factor, but that is not the distinction by which you are who you are. That is not, you know what I'm saying? So you could be black, you could be white.
White.
You know what I mean? You could be Asian, you could be whatever. It's just like I said, even in that example, there's men out there, regardless of their ethnicity, that they preference a black woman or a melanated woman sexually. And that is not because of their race. That's just their individual outlook on life, right? So I'll try to stay on track here. Main problem, misrepresentation of people. There's not enough A-list, I would say this, like A-list chocolate baddies. There's not enough of that. And I imagine you could find talented, beautiful black women to match the energy of a Tom Holland. That's one issue. There's also the issue of recycling white stories, of not being able to originate something that's creative or worthy to give to somebody, and that's new. I think that's it's crazy. And, the next issue that I wanted to talk about is like the way that they set people up in a catch-22. So even if you had like a knee-jerk reaction of looking at this, say you're a black woman or you're somebody who considers himself progressive or somebody that has the idealism of wanting to be inclusive, you would initially see this and your eyes go, ooh, because she's not a looker. I don't know her acting abilities. This lady's not a looker. So you have that initial knee-jerk reaction, and then you feel bad about it because you're like, oh, shouldn't she be able? You try to reconcile that. That's the structured catch-22 bullshit of the entertainment industry. It's like they set themselves up for win-wins, which you have to do that if you're in business, but at what expense? So I'll explain it. Studio has this. They might have even purposefully cast a funny-faced black woman to generate eyeballs. You know what I'm saying? It's racial baiting. It's sensationalizing something with something that's very fucking obvious. And I'll role reverse so that it can kind of be clearer. If they cast, I'm trying to think of like an equivalent to Romeo and Juliet. So if they cast like a black version of 50 Shades of Grey, right? 50 Shades of Grey is this movie that is revolving around like the female sexual fantasy, right? The female sexual fantasy, that what women kind of suppress because Society tells them that they should be good and they should be clean and they should be moral, but they have their own level of sexual interest that they want to be explored. So this movie, 50 Shades of Grey, is kind of about the freak mindset of a woman. This lady runs into this guy and he turns the bitch out, right? He turns her into the freak that she always wanted to be. Now, if they recast that with this racial angle shit, and as the woman in this movie, they picked an A-list white celebrity. You know, they picked a Margot Robbie.
Jesus Christ!
Or she's Hispanic, but I mean, goddamn, Anna de Armas. They picked, you know, somebody who had like a European look that to play the lead female. You know, how would women feel, this new racially recasted 50 Shades of Grey, if for the male role they picked a guy that looked like Biggie Smalls? How would you guys go into the theaters and support that? Because it was the right thing to fucking do? No, you'd be like, I don't want to fucking fantasize about it. You get it? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. Is it damaging to continue to go online and see recycled white culture given to black actresses, but patronize in a patronizing way? In a patronizing way. They don't even paint the picture pretty. They don't even, you know what I'm saying? It's not even polished. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
It's a fucking joke. I gotta go watch the movie because maybe I'm judging it completely wrong. Maybe it's a comedy. And Tom Holland's character, who's Romeo, he got really drunk and got the other joint pregnant. And he regrets it. So much so, he has so much shame because of the way that she looks. That's why he kills himself. Maybe that's what... Maybe that's what happens. You know what I mean? I love comedy. That would be a great spin. I don't think that's what's going on. What I really want, I don't even want to give more energy into this because I think it is a joke. I think real people who don't have as many triggers could look at this objectively and say, yo, great on this young lady for having the opportunity. I hope they pay the shit out of her. But they're playing around. They're playing around. There's tons of chocolate baddies. There's tons I can't think of any dark-skinned black actresses, and maybe that's a problem right now too. It's like, can you think of like a black woman in mainstream Hollywood that's chocolate, that's dark-skinned, that is beautiful? Because there's a ton of like chocolate baddies of you could pick. I don't get it. I don't get it.
This is bullshit.
Get him out of here. Get him off the set. I'll have someone else do it.
I'll do it.
You got it.
You ain't
Ladies and gentlemen, that's been a fucking podcast. If you continue listening to Nothing Important Podcast, continue listening. Do me a favor. Go onto the Instagram, Nothing Important Podcast on Instagram, like posts, like reels. Do me another favor. Go over to the X platform. Do the same damn thing. El Nada Dada on the X platform. Do it. Stop being scared. Just do it. Hit me up. You scary. Go over to the YouTube platform. Nothing Important Podcast on YouTube. Visual content. Until next time.